Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? Well, hello again. I guess this is the very, very long overdue speed paint of my Pokemon Violet team, as well as a bit of an explanation as to where I've been for the last 5 months. Let's just get the explanation over with. Here is all the reasons why I have mostly been inactive on YouTube for the past 5 months. Anyway, that settles it, and I hope we don't have to discuss this again. Yippee. Regardless, I finished my Pokemon playthrough of Violet in January this year, and I made the team speed paints throughout February and later April due to reasoning. Anyways, I made 2 official speed paint drawings of my Pokemon Violet team, which consisted of 13 total members of Pokemon overall. Aside from one of them, all of them were caught, and for the video, I'm just gonna be going through my overall Pokemon experience. So, first of all, I want to say that the main reason that I got Pokemon Violet over Pokemon Scarlet is because I think stripes look horrible. There is literally no other reason. Anyways, here's my thoughts. So, overall, this is actually the first Pokemon game that I have finished within months of getting it. I have never actually officially completed the leagues of Pokemon X, Omega Ruby, or Moon. And I am ashamed to say that this is only the second Pokemon game I've ever completely finished, with the first being Pokemon Picross, which I finished the main game for. Anyways, so yeah, the story's really good. Everyone's talked that to death. Favorite storyline is hard to say, but I really appreciate the Team Star storyline the most, probably. I wish they meshed together a little bit more than just the final ending, but I do appreciate the dynamic of the characters. I still prefer my redesign of Meowscarada to the official, and I also prefer a certain redesign I found on Tumblr of Bellybolt, which, funny enough, I made the speed paint before I watched True Green 7's video, which has a very similar redesign anyways. Yay. So, for the first speed paint, I am drawing myself as well as the rest of my team, just somewhere in the middle of Paldea, enjoying the adventure. I did not draw Miraidon because, quite honestly, I actually don't know. But I did draw all 14 members of my original team. I'll discuss them in detail later, but I will say that it's hard that I can't give a definitive MVP for this team. Although the final 6, which made it through both the Pokemon League and the end game. Oh yeah, I should mention this is a full spoiler warning, because from here on out I will be giving no regard to any spoilers, although it is currently 6 months following the game's release, so I assume that you have either completed the game, watched completed versions of the game, or have read through Bulbapedia. Anyways, my final team was Tofu the Garganacle, Baker the Tinkaton, Bob the Bellybolt, Mugunga the Meowscarada, Denz the Palafin, and Del, who was my... Man, I'm already forgetting. Dingus. And Del the Ceruledge. I honestly have no experience in competitive, and I would rather not have to learn about it. Anyways, the remaining Pokemon were Emerald the Gardevoir, Mousehold, the Mousehold, who was traded through a Wonder Trade, Samjogo the Mismagius, Bakugo the Annihilate, Celery the Spidiops, Nimbus the Altaria, and Montgomery the Crocodile. Overall, these are the Pokemon I've used the most, although I do have a couple other members, which I will not be discussing, because quite honestly, I kind of forgot about them already. Look, I'm recording this video 6 months after this game. Can you blame me a little? And also, I haven't really touched the game much because I've been busy. You might notice that I'm currently using a new format for my Speedpaint type videos, and basically it's inspired by the awesome illustrator ABD Illustrates, who is also on YouTube. Check him out if you want. I honestly bet that you already have. He is a really cool illustrator, and his video style sort of inspired my new Speedpaint style, where I'm able to actually put images somewhere without having to delegate. As for the end game of Pokemon Violet, I will say that I tried to get through the entire game with as minor spoilers as possible, and the only thing my sister, Blushy, told me was that the League is not the end game. And that was the only thing I really knew going in, so I went through the game, finished all 3 side quests, got a nice dosage of the school system, which was kind of ironic, and then went through to the end game, of course. I completed Arven's side quest first, followed by the Team Star side quest, followed by the League, and then went through the end game. Area 0. Can I just say that is the most spine-chilling part of Pokemon I have experienced? Please do not point at Gens 5 or previous, because I have not personally played them. And don't point at Oris. Please don't point at Oris or anything either, because I never made it past the second gym in Oris, not because I wasn't good, but because I couldn't tell where to go. Anyways, back to the Area 0. Now, disclaimer, this is a very, very hot take, I'm assuming, because I have never seen anyone with the same opinion as me in regards to this, but I don't like the concept of the paradoxes. Quite honestly, they are kind of weird, and I don't like the concept. I like their designs sometimes. I think that their designs are cool. I think that competitively they are kind of cool. I don't know though, because I am not a competitive. But I do not like their concept. Why are these weird Pokemon from the past and future coming in? Why do they all look the same? And why do they look too similar to the original Pokemon? We have seen fossil Pokemon before. Why can't we have just filled Area 0 with the fossils and, I don't know, the aliens like Behem and... Actually, there aren't enough aliens. But I honestly think that it might have been better if it was stated that the Area 0 Pokemon were taken through the time machine, and then several generations later, their own descendants were brought back. That would honestly explain it a lot better to me than whatever is going on in the base game. Also, how can a Pokemon be 1 billion years old when a billion years ago, there were literally only microscopic life forms. Bacteria, archaea. We hadn't evolved complex life yet. Anyways, as for the actual endgame, it was honestly really tragic, and as someone who has recently finished the Owl House without displaying my thoughts on it, but I have finished the Owl House, and I do say that, hoo boy, familial relationships are rough. And it is very tragic to see our best boy Arvin go through all this. As for the art side of things, well, for both drawings I mostly used a cell shading technique because I'm just comfy with it, but also to reduce time. Lately I have gone into some digital painting, but there is an issue with Fire Alpaca currently that is that the pen pressure is broken or something. I don't know if it's Fire Alpaca, if it's my drawing tablet, or if it's my PC, but one way or another, it's gotten a lot harder to draw things in the last few months. So don't expect another Speedpaint soon, even though I do hope to get back to YouTube again. Honestly, other than that, there's not much really to say. Just getting through the emotions, I guess, of what a proper speed paint should be. For the second speed paint, I took a different approach and decided to draw all of my team as humans. I foreshadowed this back in the redesigning Masquerada video, although you could probably not hear it due to how bad the audio quality was. Good thing for me that I actually received a microphone. Thanks a lot. So, of the 13 total members, I'm just gonna be discussing them from a playthrough perspective, as well as some of their design details. A part of the speed paint that I decided not to show was that I made a little design snippets for each character of what I wanted them to look like before I started drawing them. So here it is. It is the only part of the speed paint that wasn't timed, so my timing is unfortunately not going to be very reliable, is it? Oh well. So, for my starter, I picked Sprigatito because I'm not sure if you noticed my branding. But I decided to name my Sprigatito Mugunga. If you have watched Squid Game, you may understand what that is. If you haven't watched Squid Game, or even if you haven't, just don't understand, I'll just reiterate that a Mugunga is the Korean name for the mallow flower, I think. And it in Squid Game was featured with the red light green light game, or also known as 무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다. Yes, I am Korean. Korean American, born in America, fluent-ish, semi-fluent. I am rambling again. Okay, anyways, my design for the human Masquerada, I really wanted to emphasize sort of the magician vibe, and just that sort of mystery thief cattiness. So I added the flower in the breast, the flower in the vest, the actual vest, long gloves, long boots, and I put the mask on the side so I can emphasize the face. In the original sketch, I also added makeup, but I guess I cut it in the final version for reasons. Mugunga has a bashful nature and is described as a bit of a clown by the decks, so I tried to keep some of that goofball energy. Baker was my Tinkaton who was initially found in West Providence, relatively in the early mid-game or the mid-early game. Sometime after, I think, the second gym. I loved using Baker mostly to get through the Elite Four, as Steel Fairy is one of the better types in the game. Baker here is pictured with the, I gave Baker the power headband to increase the effects of Gigaton Hammer, even though in the end, Baker became sort of a mixed attacker. Oh yeah, also, Baker is named after David Baker from Forged in Fire, even though Baker is female. Mugunga is also female. Actually, let me just count it up. 9 of my 13 Pokemon are female. Dell is my Ceruledge, who was found in South Providence at Area 3. And I actually found Dell during my first time doing online play in Pokemon Violet with one of my friends. Overall, my team leaned heavily towards the physical attacking side of things, and Dell is no exception. I'm really glad though that I got such a cool fire type. I am personally a bit more offense focused in my playstyle usually, and previously I've preferred special attackers, which makes this kind of fun. I think that Dell's nickname originated from the battery, though this is uncertain. Next up is Bob. Bob is the name that I gave to my belly bolt for absolutely no reason. And unfortunately, I discovered that Bob was a female. When I shared this information onto a public Discord server I was part of, it became kind of canon that Bob is trans. Okay, so yeah. During some time before I ended up going to the endgame locations, I was starting to get pretty tired of grinding, so I just had my sister do grinding for me. And Blushy told me that Bob was going to be the tankiest tank around, and hoo boy, that bulk. I unfortunately do not have any clips of my Violet playthrough, but I will say that Bob was a nuisance. Ironically, Bob has a serious nature, which is not pictured well in the drawing. Oh well, you win some, you lose some. One of the things I quickly learned about Scarlet and Violet was the dolphin Pokemon, Finizen. So I caught a Finizen, named it Dens, and Dens became a quick important member of my team as the staple water type. Dens' name is layered, can I just say that? Finizen, Denizen, also density, as in water, swimming. There might have been more to it too, but I cannot fish it up. I often sent Denzen first to take advantage of Zero to Hero, which Halifin is an interesting design to say the least, but you can't deny the strength, am I right? For Dens, I ended up giving sort of a superhero look, which, I mean, I tried. It's hard for me to draw muscles. It will remain hard for me to draw muscles. But at the same time, I also tried to give sort of a swimmer body, sort of tall and lanky, as well as the strength, as well as as well as face paint, sort of substituting as a mask. Tofu, the now Garganackle, originally Knackley, was one of the OG members of the team, one of the first caught, and ended up making it all the way to the end game as primary tank. Tofu was often sent in to tank hits while healing up, specifically in the Arvin battle, which I had to take twice. It was really helpful to have a nice amount of bulk as well as steel coverage, even though Baker eventually handled that. And yes, Tofu is also female. She is also a female. I ended up choosing Tofu's outfit due to sort of the desert vibes as well as the sort of safari vibes. And I wanted to make Tofu look stoic while at the same time emphasizing that her nature was jolly. I hope I did that properly. Celery was the first ever Pokemon that was caught during this playthrough, and I called all of my Tarantula Celery at the suggestion of my friend, and once Celery evolved into Spidey Ops, I could understand why. He had tube legs. Celery was the only member of the team who was officially ditched because of the pattern of weak bug types, and it was getting hard to incorporate onto my team, so I unfortunately had to ditch Celery sometime after the second gym. But I will say that Celery was helpful due to resisting Katie, being super effective against Brassius, and resisting Giacomo. For the design, I was really stuck until I ended up designing a gas mask look. Emerald was my Gardevoir, who I ended up naming Emerald for arbitrary reasons. I had initially actually caught two Ralts, Emerald being the female Ralts, and a male Ralts with Water Terra type, who I named Aquamarine. I never ended up using Aquamarine due to the species overlap, but I would have evolved Aquamarine into Gallade if I had actually chosen to ditch Emerald. I wanted to bring in the more feminine energy with the full dress with Emerald, who I also call M. And then I ended up giving two other Mons dresses. Emerald was my main special attacker, along with Samjogo, and Emerald was probably the GOAT. Emerald and Samjogo were definitely the GOATs during the boss battle against Aerie. Nimbus the Altaria is honestly kind of hard to talk about due to the fact that overall, kind of forgettable, to be honest. I mean, it is good to have a designated flyer, but at the same time, sometimes you just don't have much to talk about with a team member, especially when you have a large team. I will say though that as soon as Nimbus learned Dragon Dance, I did learn to abuse it. Thanks a lot, Skyla. Too bad I am not really suited for the status move playstyle. Mousehold was the first ever Pokemon I got via a trade, and it was pretty sweet having them, despite how underwhelming they were, sort of. Although I did have a lot of fun once I leveled up enough to unlock the move Population Bomb. Because of this, Mousehold ended up as more of the neutral damage dealer. For the Speedpaint, I ended up drawing 4 characters. Pretty fun to design how the ears would end up. Next are 2 of a pair, Samjogo and Montgomery. Samjogo was my Mismagius, who I was only able to evolve into a Mismagius right before the gym battle against Rhyme, due to not knowing where to find a Dusk Stone. I'm putting Samjogo and Montgomery together due to their double battle feats, mostly against Rhyme. Samjogo had the ability Levitate, and Montgomery was an Earthquake user, so I used them together during the battle against Rhyme just to have some fun. Samjaga also knew Phantom Force, which was also pretty useful during the battle against Rhyme. Montgomery's name comes from 2 different gators, actually. Monty from FNAF and Gummy from MLP. I am ashamed to say this. Meanwhile, Samjago's name ended up being a bit of a misnomer. Personally, I read the comic, The Legendary Beast Hospital, and it was there that I learned about the underworld known as Samdo-chon, so I wanted to name my Miss Magius after that, but I mixed up the word Samdo-chon and Samjogo, with Samjogo meaning 3-legged crow. Miss Magius is a bird now. Look, I kinda had to name my main key Bakugo. In fact, when I told this to my sister, their own main key was named Kachan. My Hero Academia is not doing so well, but at least we have that. I mean, look at Primeape's face. Going in, I was honestly surprised to learn about the evolution of Bakugo. I mean, the evolution of Primeape. And it took a while to get, due to completely missing out on the move Rage Fist. Now for the background, which was a whole other can of worms. I was working on this background since at least February, and I didn't finish it until April. I was trying to replicate the default tablecloth, so I had to include the Yuva logo. In the end, I ended up making this one image that I was able to use as the repeated pattern tablecloth, but oh boy, it took forever. By the way, the image looks like this. Anyway, I took that image off of Google Drive, slapped it onto a PNG file, uploaded it onto Fire Alpaca, did some adjustments, and added shading, added a new background that was the old background that was painted on for the first Speedpaint, and boom! I now had the hardest part of this entire video done. It took 2 months for this. I did the rest of the Speedpaint in April, and between that time, Fire Alpaca's pen pressure had broke, which I have already discussed. At this point, I'm debating if I should switch from Fire Alpaca to another art program, like Clip Studio. But at the same time, Clip Studio is $50. Well, anyways, here's the final results. I am definitely making these into my new wallpapers, so other than that, I don't have any plans for what's coming next, so logging out? Yeah, logging out.